الحمد للإله سابغ النعم وخالق الإنسان من بعد العدم، فالحمد ثم الحمد ثم الحمد لك حمدا كثيرا طيبا يا رب لك. أعطيتنا خيرا كثيرا ربنا، سترت عن كل الورى عيوبنا، ثم الصلاة بعد والتسليم على النبي المصطفى الكريم وآله وصحبه الكرام السادة الأبرار والعظام، وبعد فاعلموا فخير.
الحمد لله استعينه واستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا، من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد الصادق الوعد الأمين وعلى إخوان النبيين والمرسلين رضي الله عنهم أمهات المؤمنين وعلى بيت الطاهرين والخلفاء الراشدين أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وللأئمة المهتدين أبي حنيفة ومالك والشافعي وأحمد وللأولياء والصالحين رضوان الله أجمعين. Okay, so continuing from the previous lesson, we've been doing the hadith of إنما الأعمال بالنيات, the first hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari, and we've been studying this hadith of niyyah, and we've covered the fiqh in regards to niyyah. We also covered the fiqh in regards to the fi'l, the actions, and there were certain relevant questions to this topic which we are also been dealing in. And the current topic that we are studying is the bid'ah. So in the previous lesson was the topic in regards to studying bid'ah. How that relates to this topic is because of the actions. Okay, so then we mentioned some of the questions which highlight in this particular issue is that, is our niyat enough? Is it enough for us to have a niyat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake? So my intention is good, I want to do something good, but is this acceptable? Is this enough for me just to have a niyat? So we mentioned in the previous lesson that just the niyat itself is not enough. It must be according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we mentioned various hadiths, and we mentioned the warnings and how the previous nations, they were destroyed because of this innovation. Now innovation itself, bid'ah, we mentioned in the shar'i meaning. It has the shar'i meaning, that's the way, that's the meaning that we are looking at. We're not looking at the lugwi meaning. The lugwi meaning, like we mentioned in the previous lesson, bid'ah, it means something which is innovation. So that could be in the worldly things as well, but that's not what we are referring to, and that's not what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was referring to in these hadiths when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking about the bid'ah, and in regards to the deen. So those bid'ah which are done in regards to the deen, and they are the worst of the matters, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and all these matters which are done bid'ah of, then they will be rejected. So these were some of the hadith we mentioned in the previous lesson, and we started off with some of the usul as well. Before we go any more further, I'd just like to mention a few more hadiths in regards to the importance of the sunnah, because bid'ah is something which is opposite of the sunnah. So when we hear those hadiths in regards to the Prophet ﷺ telling us that hold on to my sunnah, alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnatul khulafa'i rashidin mahdiyyin tamassaku biha wa addu alayhi bin nawadis. So when Rasulullah ﷺ was telling us, and he was informing us of those times of fitna when they will come, the Prophet ﷺ told us something very important for us to stay away from the times of fitna. And that was that the Prophet ﷺ said, hold on to the Quran and hold on to the Sunnah. Okay, so these are two important things. Now Sunnah is the ways of Rasulullah ﷺ. Okay, and it is through hadith and through other ways of how we know this Sunnah. Okay, through hadith is one of the main ways of how we learn the Sunnah. There is a slight difference between the meaning of the word sunnah and hadith. Okay, because sunnah, it's the meaning is the way of the Prophet ﷺ, so his footsteps, and one of the main ways of how we achieve that is through the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ. But that is not the only way. There's also other ways as well, which, like for example, ijma of the ummah from the time of the Sahabas as well, that is also counted as a sunnah. as well of the Prophet ﷺ. So that is a form of evidence. Something which is an ijma, that is another form of evidence. So the first and the highest form of evidence is the Quran itself. Then it is the narration, the hadith. Okay, the hadith are the second highest form of evidence. And the third form of evidence is ijma. After ijma, now, what does ijma mean? Ijma means something which the ummah, the ulama have united upon it. The ulama have united upon it, and this must be linked back to the Sahabas. So something which the Sahabas they agreed upon, and then it was carried on from the time at that time. So this is known as ijma. The other form of evidence, the fourth type of evidence, is the qiyas of the fuqaha. For example, the qiyas of the Imam Malik, qiyas of the Mujtahideen, the Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. So what they derived from this in terms of fiqh, that is something different. So even today we need fiqh. Okay, that is not something which is innovating into the religion, because we need to know how to live in this modern day and time with the usul of the Quran Majid and the usul of the hadith. How do we live that in this time? That is not bid'ah. What bid'ah is innovating into the principles of the deen. Okay, and this is something which is not accepted. And we mentioned various hadiths in the previous lesson. The Prophet ﷺ, in one hadith, he said, لا يقبل الله لصاحب بدعة صوما ولا صلاة ولا صدقة ولا حجة ولا عمرة ولا جهاد. It is mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept the worship of the sahib bid'ah. He doesn't accept his fasting, he does not accept his salah, he does not accept his sadaqah, his hajj, his umrah, his jihad. So subhanallah, this is a severe warning in regards to not doing bid'ah. And we mentioned also in regards to what is the effect of this, is that it starts to take away the sunnah. It starts to take the sunnah away from us. And as time is going, the Prophet ﷺ already had said that the best of the times is my time. And then it is the time of the Sahabas. And then the time after them. So after that, the more we go towards the time of Qiyamah, the worse it will be. And the more fitnas that we are most likely to see. The thing that the Prophet ﷺ ordered us to keep hold on to was the Quran and the Sunnah. So we need to emphasize it. And the opposite of the Sunnah is bid'ah. And this is why Rasulullah ﷺ, he taught us about the importance of bid'ah, that it is something which we need to stay away from. It is mentioned in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما تركت شيئا مما أمركم الله به إلا وقد أمرتكم به ولا تركت شيئا مما نهاكم الله عنه إلا وقد نهيتكم عنه. The Prophet ﷺ said, I have not left anything what I have ordered you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hukm, except that I have already ordered you with it. I have already ordered you and I have commanded you with it. Yani there is nothing else which we need to know about the deen, which it has already been told to us by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he also goes on to say that I have not forbidden you from anything except that I have already told you about it. And there's a very similar hadith to this. إِذَا لَيْسَ شَيْءٌ يُقَرِّبُكُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ إِلَّا قَدْ أُمِرْتُكُمْ بِهِ وَلَيْسَ شَيْءٌ يُقَرِّبُكُمْ إِلَى النَّارِ إِلَّا قَدْ نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ. The Prophet ﷺ said that there is nothing which will bring you closer to Jannat. There will be nothing that will bring you closer to Jannat except that I have told you about it. And there is nothing that will bring you closer to the hellfire except that I have warned you against it. So subhanallah, the Prophet ﷺ has already told us these things, the things that we need to know. There's another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari as well. There was a Jew who came to Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. He came to Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, and he said to him that if we had a particular day which you have, then we would be celebrating in this particular day. So Umar bin Khattab radiallahu said to him that which day is this? This, and he mentioned, the Jew mentioned, this is the day when the ayat came down, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam ad-dina. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in Surah Ma'idah, this ayat, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that this is the day I have perfected your religion for you and completed my favor unto you, and I have chosen for you the religion of Islam. So subhanallah, this was the ayat which this Jew was telling Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, that if we had this day, this particular ayat that had been revealed to us, we would be celebrating on this particular day. So Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he said that I know about this ayat, I know what day it was, and I know exactly where the Prophet ﷺ was stood when this ayat was revealed on him. So the Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he wasn't celebrating it. Why wasn't he celebrating it? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't tell them. Neither did they, the Sahaba, they didn't do something which the Prophet ﷺ didn't do. Okay, so unless it was, for example, like the things like the Quran Majid, that was something which is later on. But what the Sahabas did, it's not classed as bid'ah. Why? Because Allah says, radiyallahu anhum wa radu'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is razi with them. He is razi with them, He's happy with them, and they are happy with them. So when it's mentioned, man ahdasa fi amrina, in this hadith, that whoever innovates in our matter, it means the deen of Allah and His Rasul. And what the Sahabas did, this is something which is the deen. So what they did is part of the deen. We cannot say that, or like for example, or what Usman radiallahu anhu did, he compiled the Quran. So this was not done by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, this is not classed as bid'ah, because these are the Sahabas. So the Sahabas knew best. So what was done by the Sahaba, that's perfectly fine. The other thing is, in regards to this ayat, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati. So in this ayat, Imam Malik, the Grand Mufti of Medina, he said in regard to this, min ibtida'al bil Islam bid'atun wahidatun faqad za'ama anna Muhammadan khana risala. He said, and this is how he understood this ayat. And Imam Malik rahimahullah is one of the greatest muftis, the leader of the Maliki fiqh. The way he understood this, he says, anyone who innovates something in Islam while deeming it to be a good innovation, saying it is a good innovation, has claimed that the Prophet ﷺ was a khain. He has betrayed his trust to deliver the message. So this is how severe it is. The people who say that it is bid'ah hasana, this is something which is not true. This is in relation to the lughwi meaning. And we find this word bid'ah, it was mentioned by certain Sahabas as well. And so we look at some of them hadiths later on in this lesson. And the main two narrations, there are only two main narrations which really mention this, where the bid'ah hasana was used. And this was used in the lughwi meaning, the linguistic meaning, not the shar'i meaning. And the example of that is when the Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he was about the Taraweeh prayer. The Taraweeh prayer, and what used to happen in the time of Hazrat Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, the Taraweeh used to be read separately. Every man in the masjid, they would read their own. So what happened one day is that Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he came to the masjid and he saw them, and they were all praying together. So they were praying together, and Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he said, what a beautiful bid'ah. What a beautiful bid'ah. Here it means that what a good start. This was something that was done in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It's not something which is newly established. It was something which was already done in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Another hadith which is famously used by those who say it's bid'ah hasana is the hadith of Jarir ibn Abdullah al-Badi. The Messenger of Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned some words in regards to bid'ah hasana, whoever starts a good thing. So the lughwi meaning is starting something, to start something. So what actually happened, there was a tribe the Qabila Mudar. The Qabila Mudar, they were a very poor tribe of Qabila. They came to the Prophet ﷺ asking him for some charity, some clothes, because they had very ripped clothing. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he got on top of the mimbar and he did a bayan. He mentions the fadail, the benefits of giving charity to the poor people. And he didn't get much of a response. The Prophet ﷺ didn't get much of a response from the Sahaba. So the Sahaba, they could only give a little bit. So what happened was, one of them, he went home and he got a pile of clothes and he came back with it. So when he came back with it, the other Sahabas, they started to see him do that and they also did that. So they followed him. It was in form of encouragement. So then the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever starts a good thing and is followed by others will have his own reward and the reward equal to that of those who follow him, without detracting from their reward in any way. And whoever starts a bad thing and is followed by the others will bear the burden of his own sin and bear the burden equal to the one who of following him. So this hadith, it is mentioned in Tirmidhi Sharif, and also it is in Sahih Muslim, hadith number 1017. Okay, so these are the main two narrations which seem to be using the word bid'ah, but in the lugwi meaning. It did not mean to innovate into the principles of Islam. Okay, now inshallah we look into some of the usul that we were mentioning in one of the previous lessons. In the last lesson we mentioned that there's two types of bid'ah, yani ki dalala. Dalala, bid'ah, dalala, there's two types. One is bid'ah i'tiqadi. Bid'ah i'tiqadi means to do bid'ah into the religion of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of aqidah. To add something into Islam which is in relation to aqidah. The other type of bid'ah which is in relation to fi'liyah. Bid'ah fi'liyah and bid'ah i'tiqadi. Bid'ah i'tiqadi, like I said, it is in relation to the matters of aqidah. And the example of this is certain sects which had come around, for example, the Qadariyah. The Qadariyah, they were such a sect that they rejected the taqdeer. They rejected the taqdeer altogether. They claim that a man makes his own actions, not Allah. Not Allah. Allah does not make the actions of the people. And the way of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at, Allah is the creator of everything, including the actions of the people. This is the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. However, so this, the Qadariyah, they rejected Qadar. They could not understand it. They could not say that how can we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything, He knows the future, He's fixed the Jahannam for us, He's fixed Jannat for us, or the hellfire for us. So if He has fixed it, then what can we do? And so they couldn't understand it, so they had this fasid aqidah, they innovated into aqidah. Okay, so this was an example. Another example is the Jahmiyyah. Another sect was the Jahmiyyah, who rejected the Asma'u Sifat, the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They rejected them. And they said that they did ta'wil on a lot of the names, and they said that no, this doesn't mean this, it means this. So they could change the meanings around according to how they wanted. The another sect who innovated into Aqidah was the Jabariyah sect. The Jabariyah sect, or those, they were opposite to the Qadariyah sect. So they claim we are forced to do all the actions. We are forced to do all the actions. So they also innovated in regards to the matters of Qadr, Taqdeer. And then there is the Mu'tazila sect. The Mu'tazila sect, this was also another sect which innovated. They did bid'ah into the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these were the ones who denied the punishment. They gave preference to logic over daleel, over the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They gave preference to their own aql, their own intelligence, and certain things they couldn't understand. For example, denying the punishment in the grave. They couldn't understand that what they would do, they would go to the grave after maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, and they will see the body is still perfectly fine, there's nothing wrong with it, and this person was an evil person. So then they say that these azab, there's nothing happening to him. So they did not logically understand it. And so they denied that. Similarly, they denied the pole sirat, the pole sirat, which is sharper than a sword, thinner than a hair, which we will have to walk on to get into Jannah. And so they denied this. They logically couldn't understand that why do we need to go over the pole sirat? That's a form of a test, and all the tests are happening in this world. Why do we need to be tested in the akhirat when this life is supposed to be the test? Not that. So they give preference to the akal over the dalil, and the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so these were in relation to what this Mu'tazila did, and they fell into a big trap, because you see, our deen is based on to believe in the ghaib. If you read Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He mention? He says, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Bil-ghaybi, those who believe in the ghaib, they believe in the unseen. This is what a mu'mineen is. This is what a mu'min is. He doesn't need a reason for following anything. He doesn't need to understand everything. Then only I'm going to believe it. This is not a mu'min. A mu'min is not like that. If Allah says it, then that's what we do. If the example is, for example, a master, he says to his slave, go and make tea for me. वो कहता है अपने नौकर को कि मेरे लिए चाय बना. So what this means now, what the slave cannot say to the master that why should I make tea for? If he says this, he's going to be saying your job is to make the tea, right? You cannot question me. I am your master or you my master. So similarly, we are the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do not have the right. Why should we do this? If Allah says it, then we will do it. And so whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, we will also do that. There is no two ways about it. And this is what a mu'min is. So however, this was another sect, Mu'tazila, who were fell into this trap. The other sect was the Rawafida. Rawafida was the modern day, the Shia. They rejected the Sahabas. They said that there's only 4 Sahabas who remained as Muslims, or 4 to 6 Sahabas who remained as Muslim. All the rest of the Inna Lillah, they say that they all became murtad. Na'udhu billah. So this is their belief. They innovated into the belief system of Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat, what the Prophet ﷺ had left us with. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clearly saying, radiyallahu anhu wa radu an. Allah is happy with them and they are happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to say that they became murtad, this is something which is on the level of kufr. Okay, so and the other one is in regards to that the Prophet ﷺ, he is made from the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is made from the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a batil aqidah. This is not something which is part of Islam. This is very similar to Christianity. It is the Christians who say that the Prophet the Isa alayhi salam, he was part of Allah, and like the Trinity that they mentioned. So the Holy Ghost, there's the Father, and then there's Jesus. So he was part of them. And this is not the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. This is not our aqidah. We respect all the prophets, but we do not put that respect on such a level that we will put them on the level of a God. Okay, so this is a batil aqidah. And similarly, another aqidah, which is the innovated aqidah, it is not sabit from the Quran and the Hadith, Hazir Nazir. And this is a common one that we hear of today. Hazir Nazir, yani the Prophet ﷺ being everywhere at one time. This is an innovation. It is only Allah's Zat which is Hazir Nazir. Only Allah's Zat is Hazir Nazir. Nobody else is Hazir Nazir. No one has this sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is in regards to some of those examples of doing bid'ah in the i'tiqadi, in aqidah. Then we mentioned there was the bid'ah fi'liyah. bid'ah fi'liyah. And the first one we mentioned was the Ibn Abdul Barr, which he mentioned in his Risail, and also Ibn Hajar Asqalani rahimullah, he's been mentioning it as well, in Ibn Rajab. So compiling and looking at what they have mentioned, we were looking at some of their reasons, what are classed as bid'ah fi'liyah. So the first one was the sabab. The sabab is when yani ki, the acts of worship which do not exist in Islam, and they are not sabit from the Quran and Hadith. They are not sabit from the Quran and Hadith, neither what it was done from the Sahabas or the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It was not done. For example, now we know that the 27th of Rajab, 27th of Rajab, this was when the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he went to the Miraj. He went to the Miraj on the 27th of Rajab. And now, so that was when he went up there to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very good thing. But now, if we were to say that from now on, I think we should start celebrating the 27th of Rajab. This is not allowed. Nobody can claim that we're going to start to celebrate the 27th of Rajab after 1400 years. The Sahabas didn't do it, the Prophet ﷺ didn't do so, and neither did any of the Aimah. So no one can claim this that we should start to celebrate the 27th of Rajab. Similarly, another example is Fatah Makkah, the conquest of Makkah. When Prophet ﷺ, he came into Makkah. Okay, this was on the 20th Ramadan. The 20th Ramadan, the Prophet ﷺ, he conquered Makkah, and this was one of the biggest victories of Islam, where they took over Makkah. So that is indeed a big day. It was a big day for Islam. So now someone to say that after 1400 years that, you know what, I think we should start to celebrate this day. Why not? It was a big day. So this will not be jais, because this is something which was not established. This is something which was not done by the Sahaba. It was not done by the Prophet ﷺ, even though they knew the importance of this day. So similarly, there are many other examples, and there are the festivals. Now the festivals of every religion, these are something which are sacred to every religion. For example, the Christians, they have their own festivals. The Yahud, they have their own festivals. Nobody has the right to innovate festivals into their religion. Okay, no one has the right to do this. The other, like the Christians, they have done it. They have made up many festivals into their religion. Like for example, the Christmas and Easter. This was not done by Isa alayhi salam. He didn't do this. So this, they already know that themselves. They innovated into these festivals. So that's what unfortunately we find ourselves, our own Muslims, that who are doing these kind of things. So getting involved in certain things like the Mawlid. Now the celebrating the Mawlid, this was not celebrated by the Prophet ﷺ himself. It was not celebrated. The wives of the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba did not celebrate him. Neither did the Fuqaha celebrate them. Neither did any of the Muhaddiseen celebrate them. This was actually done about 600 years later by the Fatimids. Okay, inshallah, when we get time, we will mention the history of how it all started. That's for another day. But this is something which is not allowed, to make a festival which you think, because I love the Prophet ﷺ so much, I am Ashiq Rasul, for that reason I want to add something, a festival, to the religion. This is not something which is permissible. But the danger of doing something like this is that it will always carry on. There'll be something carrying on from this, and this is what we see. We also see that they have our brothers who now have Yarmi. Now Yarmi, this is something which is another bid'ah. It is a celebration of the birthday of Abdul Qadir Jilani. Abdul Qadir Jilani, who was a great Wali Allah. Okay, but now to celebrate his birthday, this is not sabit. It is not from the hadith, or it's not from the ways of the Salaf, the Salaf al-Salihin. Okay, and we don't have the right to do this. It is not our deen, in terms of that we can do things however we want. It is the deen of Allah and His Rasul. We are followers, we are not innovators. Okay, so this is in regards to some of the first usul, yani ki in terms of the sabab. The other one which was mentioned was in terms of the jinns. The jinns, yani ki, the certain types or what, yani ki, which has been mentioned by the Sharia, certain things. For example, doing qurbani. Now, when the time of qurbani comes, you cannot do a qurbani of an horse. You cannot do qurbani of a donkey. You have to do qurbani of what the Sharia has fixed for us. Either the sheep, or whether it's the goat or the camel, or something which the Sharia has fixed for us. That is what you do. You cannot say that I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it off a horse or a donkey or something else. This will not be accepted. It has to be according to the Sharia. Okay, now this is the one example. The other usul is in regards to the qadr, the miqdar, the amount. So something which the Sharia has fixed for us. For example, the amount of rakats. Now, Fajr rakat, for example, is the 2 farz. Now, if one day we wake up and we think that I'm feeling very pious today, why shall I not read 8 rakat? So this will not be accepted. The whole 8 rakat will be batil. They will not be accepted. That's very important in regard to the kayfiyat. So notice your intention is for Allah. You want to do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it has to be according to the sunnah, how the Prophet ﷺ showed us. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he prayed 2 farz, we will also pray for 2 farz as well. So this is one example. Another example is the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us the fasting is of 30 days or 29 days. Now someone said, well, I'm feeling even more pious and I am Ashiq Rasul, so I'm going to fast 35 days. Will this be accepted? This will not be jais, it will be batil. Okay, so this is in regards to the qadr, the miqdar, the amount, something which the Sharia has fixed for us. Similarly, another example is the tawaf. The tawaf that we do, how many rounds do we have to do for completing one tawaf? It is 7 rounds. Someone now says, well, I'm going to do 9 rounds. This is not going to be accepted. The whole thing will be batil. Okay, it will not be accepted. So you have to do it according to the qadr which the Prophet ﷺ told us about. The fourth usul is in regards to the kayfiyat. The kayfiyat, يعني ki how to do something. فلو أن رجلا تودى فبدأ بغسل رجليه ثم مسح رأسه ثم غسل يديه ثم وجهه فيقال له وضوءك باطل. Okay, it is mentioned, Ibn Abdul Bar, he mentioned about the kayfiyat. He says somebody who doing wuzu, he starts by washing his feet. He starts by washing his feet. Then he does masa on his head. Then he washes his hands. Then he washes his face. So it will be said to him, وَضُوءَكَ بَاطِلٌ, that your wuzu is batil, is not accepted. Why? Because he's not done it according to the order the Prophet ﷺ told us. The Prophet ﷺ told us to wash the hands first, and then after the hands you need to wash the mouth, and then the nose, and then the face. So this is a tartib, this is a way of how the Prophet ﷺ taught us. Now if this person is doing it his own way, he's mixing the sequence to however he wants, the whole thing will be batil, it will not be accepted from him. So similarly is other examples of like umrah. How do we do the umrah? If someone was to do the haircut first and then to do the sa'i and then to do the tawaf, it will not be accepted. It has to be done in the kayfiyat, the proper way the Prophet ﷺ has taught us to do something. Okay, and these multiple examples for this. There's another one is in regards to the time, the Zaman. Okay, and there are certain worships which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fixed for us, which are they must be done in a particular time. They will not be accepted if you do it outside that time frame. For example, Hajj. You cannot go out and do Hajj. If I wanted to say I am going to do Hajj today, okay, I can't do Hajj. I have to wait for the month. When Allah said it is the time to do Hajj, then that's the time we can do it. Similarly, Ramadan, fasting 30 days or 29 days. If I cannot say that I want to fast 29 days from now, from today, I'm going to start my Ramadan. I cannot do that. That is fixed for a particular time. that we have to do that particular worship. Okay, so this is just an example of those ibadats which are fixed for a particular time. And similarly is with the salah. I can't read my Isha salah now when it is only for the time of Zuhr. Okay, so it's time for Zuhr. How can I read my Isha salah? So that is limited to a time. It's fixed for a time. I cannot say that I'm going to read that now, it will be batil. So we have to go according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And finally, the other example is of makan. The last usul is of the makan, yani ki the worship. So certain worshippers worship that we have to do, they are linked to a particular place. For example, doing tawaf. Doing tawaf, it is linked to a particular place. We have to go to the Baytullah and we do tawaf over there. We can't do it over local masjid over here. And similarly with the salah, you pray salah in you can pray it anywhere, but you cannot pray them in the bathroom. Okay, so for example, in a bathroom, someone wants to pray the salah, you can't, because it is not allowed. It is mentioned in the hadith. It is not permissible for someone to pray their salah in those kind of locations. Well, this is in relation to the makan. Okay, so this is in regards to wrapping up the this bahas in regards to bid'ah. We've covered it in the previous lesson as well. So this, what it means, what is bid'ah, and we mentioned in regards to how it is related to innamal a'malu bin niyyat. So we will be inshallah moving on to the next hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari. The next hadith which Imam Bukhari rahimahullah he brings is the hadith which is in relation to wahi. Now the wahi, like we mentioned, all the other the imams of the Sahih Kutta, so the six most authentic books after the Quran Majid, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan Tirmizi, Sunan Abu Dawood, Sunan Ibn Majah, Sunan Nisa'i. So all these books, now all of them, they have bought their chapters, the start of the kitab, with something which they preferred, which they thought as the most important. For example, Imam al-Nisa'i and Imam al-Tirmizi, Imam Abu Dawood. Now they started their kitab, the book of hadith, with Kitab al-Taharat. The reason why they started with Kitab al-Taharat is because if you don't have Taharat, then how can you learn about your salah? You must know how to do ghusl properly, you must know how to do wuzu properly, you must know about the rules of najasat, you must know about the water, the miqdar, what makes it clean, what are the rules of the money and in the wet dream. So all this is in the babs of taharat. So we must learn about that before we go on to salah. And it is mentioned in the famous hadith that the key for salah is the taharat. So we must know about the taharat, and this is why the imams bought Kitab al-Taharat. But then we look at Imam Muslim. Imam Muslim in his Sahih Muslim, he didn't start off with Kitab al-Taharat. He started off with Kitab al-Iman. Subhanallah, this goes to show the intelligence of Imam Muslim. Why did he go and start his kitab, his book, with Kitab al-Iman? Is because if there was no Iman, then your salah and your taharat is of no good. Your taharat and your salah is of no good. So subhanallah, he was even more advanced than these A'immah. Then we look at the book of Sahih al-Bukhari. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he started his kitab with Kitab al-Wahi. So subhanallah, why did he start his kitab with Kitab al-Wahi? Is because even before Iman, how did the whole of the religion come to us? Was because of the Wahi. If there was no Wahi, there will be no Iman, there will be no Salah, there will be no Taharat. So this is why Imam Bukhari rahimahullah started off his kitab with Kitab al-Wahi. So in regards to Wahi, now what is Wahi? The word wahi, the lafz wahi, is derived from the bab al-if'al, yani ki awha, yuha, ayhan, which means something which is hidden, something which is khafi. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned in the Quran, Inna awhayna ilayka hadha al-Quran. Indeed, we have revealed upon you this Quran. So this is wahi, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. It is the kalam. The definition of the word wahi, it is the kalam which is being delivered. It is the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being revealed to a prophet who is chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what the wahi is. Wahi also has been described as something which the human intellect, the research cannot possibly discover. It is where the human intellect finishes. That is what the wahi, because it is never possible. No one can do research of what the wahi. It's not something which is possible to do by the human intellect. They cannot do this. Okay, so this is something which is in relation to wahi. It is something which is revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is revealed upon His chosen messenger. In regards to what is wahi, the types of wahi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned in the Quran, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. And He does not talk from His desires. He does not talk from His desires. It is not except a wahi which has been revealed upon Him. Okay, so this goes to show that the Prophet ﷺ, whatever he said, that was a form of wahi. There are two types of wahi. One is wahi غير مطلوب. Wahi غير مطلوب, it means that revelation which is not in the Quran. Which is not in the Quran. So it is that which the Prophet ﷺ he talked of. And we get furthermore, we get types of this. The other type of wahi is the wahi matlu. Wahi matlu, that means the revelation which is in the Quran. That revelation which is in the Quran, that is the other type. So inshallah we will be looking at more of this in the next lesson as well. Before we go on to the next lesson, I'm just going to do this last hadith, starting of this hadith. So it is mentioned by Abdullah ibn Yusuf and Akhbarna Malik and Hisham ibn Urwa and Abihi and Aisha أم المؤمنين رضي الله عنها أن الحارث ibn Hisham رضي الله عنه سأل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. It is mentioned by Harith ibn Hisham رضي الله عنه. It is mentioned about Hazrat Aisha رضي الله عنها that she said that Harith ibn Hisham رضي الله عنه, he asked the question to Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, Ya Rasulullah, كيف يأتيك الوحي? How does the wahi come upon you, Ya Rasulullah? To the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, أحيانا يأتيني مثل سلسلة الجرس. That sometimes it comes upon me like the salsalatil jaras. What does this word salsalatil jaras means? It means like a continuous bell, a gantiki awaz, something which is continuous. It is very heavy on the Prophet ﷺ. And he says, وَهُوَ أَشَدُّ عَلَيَّ. It was very heavy upon me. So then he goes on to mention, فَيُفْسَمُ عَنِّي وَقَدْ وَعَيْتُ أَنْهُ مَا قَالَ. When it goes, then I do hifadat, I memorize what has been said to me. And sometimes, so that was one way of how it comes upon the Prophet ﷺ. The other wahi is when وَأَحْيَانِ يَتَمَثَّلُ لِيَ الْمَلَكُ رَجُلًا. When sometimes an angel used to come to me in the form of a man. فَيُكَلِّمُنِي فَعَيْهِ مَا يَقُولُ. He used to talk to me and I used to memorize what he had said. So قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها, she goes on to say, وَلَقَدْ رَأَيْتُهِ ينزل عليه الوحي في يوم شديد البرد. He said that indeed I saw the Prophet ﷺ when the wahi was coming upon him on a very cold day. And when it went, the wahi went from him, he was still sweating. He was sweating from his forehead on a very cold day. So this goes to show the kayfiyat on how the wahi used to come upon the Prophet ﷺ. We will go on to mention some of the different types of wahi in the next lesson, inshallah. So if there's any questions in relation to what we have discussed in this lesson, then anyone is free to ask that from now, inshallah. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَى الْبَلَاغِ. جزاك الله خير.
خالق الإنسان من بعد العدم، فالحمد ثم الحمد ثم الحمد لك، حمدا كثيرا طيبا يا رب لك. أعطيتنا خيرا كثيرا ربنا، سترت عن كل الورى عيوبنا. ثم الصلاة بعد والتسليم على النبي